Recently, some lucky few got to try out Spectre Divide during its closed beta. So, logically, now that it's the last day of the beta and no one can play it anymore, I've decided to drop my 12 tips and tricks. Hey, at least you'll be pretty good when the game comes back. Whenever that is. Just roll the intro. I placed this one at the top of the list as it's one of the first things I realized. If you're gonna engage, check whether or not you'll have to run a goddamn marathon when you die. Having to be there for a crucial fight and ending up on the other side of the continent kinda sucks. So double check and bring your Spectre over first. Beware, however, that it can get cancelled, so if you die instantly, you'll end up having to get your steps in anyways. Now, to completely contradict the last tip, calling your Spectre close to you before a fight isn't always a super smart thing to do in a few specific scenarios. This is because enemies can actually see the trail, so if you're trying to be sneaky, maybe don't draw a giant glowing line to yourself. This includes if you guys are trying to rotate, or if a teammate is hiding in the corner you plan to throw it in. And besides, if the enemies decide not to come into the site, guess who gets to do some more walking? Keep an eye on who has Zeus. That sounds weird. Is it just Zeus? I don't know. Anyways, when the round starts, take a mental note of who has that thing, because sometimes in a round I'll be thinking, who's the knobhead that hasn't planted the bomb yet? And then I realize that knobhead is me. And you know, if a teammate has it, you're going to want to make sure they didn't die off in the middle of nowhere, making the bomb impossible to retrieve. So, play the objective. Shocker, I know. Now that we know who has the bomb and we're trying to get them on site, you should be holding down when throwing abilities. This will make the arcs show up, allowing for more accurate placement. It can also help you tell if it'll hit a wall when throwing through a smoke, as well as where it'll bounce when chucking nades and whatnot. Very useful, and the game makes you wait a second before throwing stuff anyways, so you might as well use the lines. This one's kinda small, but I think it could come in handy, especially for new players, you know, noobs like you. Anyways, in very different games, such as Valorant, if you fire bullets pre-round, you have to rebuy the gun in order to get all of its ammo back. However, in Spectre, you actually have unlimited ammo in the buy phase. Thus, you can try out the new gun you bought to your heart's content, learn the recoil, and whether or not it's a shotgun. Look, I'll admit I'm not a gun expert, but the amount of times I've picked it up thinking it was a rifle is... Speaking of guns, don't forget to check your team's inventory. You've probably noticed that guns you kept from the last round can be used to offset the cost, as you already have one or potentially both of them. However, this can also apply to your teammates' guns. If someone buys a new kit that does not use the gun they already had, it will be placed into the team's inventory. Anyone can then buy a kit with that gun at a reduced cost. This is kind of a simple one, but take your time to learn the map and its terrain. There's tons of holes and ledges and stuff to mess around with, some of which you don't even need your Spectre to access. For example, here I'm low HP but want to gain intel on the opponent who's vaguely somewhere on site, so I hop up here and peek over, and that wins us the round. Now, you might be familiar with the fact that in the pre-round, you can open the map and left-click or right-click to place yourself and your Spectre. However, you might not know that you can also rotate them by continuing to hold down the button. Not only will this allow you to have sick dance parties, but also when you swap, you'll be, you know, ready to fight, as opposed to sniffing a box. And a quick side note, I don't know how many people do this, but I actually use caps lock to open the map when I play Valorant, and in this game it causes this giant annoying box to show up. So if you also do this, make sure to set your game to full screen in settings as it's windowed by default. When you restart, that should make it go away. This tip is actually one of the more useful ones, especially in lower elos, so I'm not sure why I put it so late in the list where most people won't see it. Maybe it's because I don't want it used against me. Anywho, for right now at least, Spectres are kinda broken. The reason is because of their warning system. This lets you know when an enemy is making noise near them, including through walls. That means that you can have your Spectre gain insane intel or even safely watch flank. Like, check out this clip. I throw the homie mid and leave for a bit. Then I hear the sound cue, so I swing and get a kill. It goes off again, so I TP him out to safety and engage knowing for a fact that there was some... How is that not a head? Okay, look, I suck at this game, but like, I knew they were there before I died. I'm just bad at aim. Avoid crouching in fights, whatever it takes, unbind it if you have to, unless you enjoy gifting free headshots to your opponents. I mean, this game allows you to literally Tokyo drift all over the place and still be accurate, so why would you not want to do that? Additionally, you shouldn't need to aid your spray with crouching too much. I could probably make this a separate tip, but then it'd be an ugly number, and I like alliteration, so we'll just squeeze it in here. The recoil on the majority of the guns in this game is pretty easy, most being controllable with just a little practice. So just move your crosshair down, not your whole body, unless you want your KD to drop too. Speaking of dropping, you should be mindful of where the Zeus falls. Turns out you're not the only one with teleportation ninjutsu. The Zeus, that's so bad. The Zeus has the ability to reset itself. This happens if it is on top of a ledge or platform that cannot be reached without throwing a puck. In the scenario it is impossible to get to, it will go all the way back to spawn, which can be useful to know if you're not there. It will show a countdown on the right side when it's going to teleport, so just check that before leaving it somewhere. Oh, and a little note I'll add is that if your team forgets the Zeus in spawn and the round's about to start, you can actually teleport on top of it to pick it up as opposed to running all the way back. And finally, while we're talking about the Zeus, God, segue king, I will add on that it can be both planted and diffused by your specters while you're not controlling them, which is pretty damn cool. You also can complete things such as reloading or using certain abilities. One last thing you should know about specters is that they are also still a physical presence even when you're not playing as them. This means they can still be hurt or even killed by abilities. It also means that they can block some of the more narrow corridors. So be smart with your placement and remember to keep an eye on them throughout the round. And folks, that'll just about wrap up this video. Hope at least some of this knowledge was valuable to you, and that you have a good time playing the game, whenever it comes out. Perhaps an update or part 2 will be needed in the future as the game progresses and changes, but till then, じゃあね.